Hi, welcome to the NGO Toolkit. In this video, I'll discuss planning, monitoring, and evaluation, also known as PME or M&E. We'll look at PME through the lens of an NGO in Indonesia. More specifically, through the eyes of my friend, Ali. He works for Kontras, an NGO that fights for justice in Indonesia. You see Ali demonstrating here with his friends in front of the presidential palace. They're asking the president to take action in the case of Munir, an activist that was murdered several years ago. Usually, Kontras' demonstration gets quite some media attention. But the question is, will this case ever be solved completely? And if not, does that mean that Ali has failed? Well, this is where planning, monitoring, and evaluation comes in. Before starting his work, Ali makes a plan. He sits down with his colleagues and really defines what their goals are. They have to start by looking at what they really want to achieve, both on the long term, for instance, putting all the bad guys behind bars, and on the short term, what are the results that they hope will happen from every single demonstration. For instance, from this demonstration, they hope that they will inform people, for instance, 300 passers-by, 20 journalists, and the presidential staff. If they do that the right way, maybe some journalists will actually write articles and produce a TV item on them. And if all things go well, there will actually be a response from a government official. And then Ali needs to plan the work. What do they really have to do? Is Ali going to be in charge of organizing the next demonstration? When will it be? And how much is it going to cost? Thirdly, Ali needs to define how he's going to keep track of all these things. Are the activities going according to schedule? And are the results that they defined beforehand being met? Those are things that are part of monitoring and evaluation. So how does Ali actually monitor and evaluate? Well, monitoring and evaluation consists of three parts: collecting data, analyzing the data, and learning from the data. So Ali needs to collect data on the results that he wanted to achieve. First of all, he wants to know if people are informed. He needs to sit down with them and ask them, do interviews or maybe surveys. Secondly, they hope to get media coverage. So it means that somebody needs to go through all the newspapers to see if a journalist actually wrote an article about the demonstration. Thirdly, Ali hopes for a government response. So that usually comes in the form of a letter or a phone call. These things need to be written down and documented. And when all this data has been gathered, they need to sit down together. Ali needs to ask himself and his colleagues whether the demonstration was organized in the right way, whether they invited the right journalists or not. How come this time nobody wrote an article, or maybe they did? All these things need to be questioned. And then they need to actively learn from it. So use their analysis to make the practice better. Next time, maybe they'll do things differently. So if we look at the process of monitoring and evaluation from start to finish, then monitoring is what you do to stay on track. You ask yourself, how are we doing? And evaluation looks more at what changed. It's about looking back when you're at the finish. Now that we've looked at Ali and Kontras, how should we define planning, monitoring, and evaluation? Well, my definition is that it's scheduling and tracking your work so that it's always in line with what you ultimately want to achieve. So I hope you have a clearer idea of what planning, monitoring, and evaluation actually is in daily practice, but I hope even more so that you have lots of questions now about how to actually do planning, monitoring, and evaluation, how it works in your practice. Well, please let me know what those questions are, and I hope to be able to answer them in one of my next videos. See ya!
We gotta change again, just you and me.